Welcome to day number 1 of our Volume 2 Balance Exercises course. Today, for our very first day, you are only going to need one piece of equipment outside of your chair, and that is going to be a massage ball. So I've got a lacrosse ball here that I'm going to use, but you can use a tennis ball, baseball, lacrosse ball, street hockey ball. If you have something around this size, that's a massage ball. That's usually the right density, but we'll use whatever we've got, and we can just change the pressure accordingly. So the very first thing that we are going to do is we are going to work on our feet. So our feet are the general balance point that we have to use for almost everything. That's what intersects with the floor and the ground. That is one of the main limiters on balance for a lot of people, is how well their feet can articulate and move around on the ground. They need to be able to feel the ground, and they need to be able to kind of manipulate around a little bit. So a lot of us, like myself, spend a lot of time in shoes that hold our foot into one static position all the time because it's safe and it's easy for our feet. But our feet are designed very similar to our hand. All of our toes and our arch and our foot and our palm, they're all supposed to work independent of each other. We're supposed to have articulation in our feet. So what we're going to do is we're going to use a ball to just slowly massage the bottom of our feet and start to reintroduce a little bit of that articulation back into our feet. It doesn't mean that you have to go and try to use your feet like hands anytime soon, but we want to make sure that you can have a little bit of movement introduced back into those feet again. So you're going to get your ball, and we're going to start by kicking our shoes off, if you have shoes on like I do. And all we're going to do is take a ball, place it right down in front of our chair, and we're going to put one foot right on top. So you can get the ball into position just by placing it on the floor and putting the middle of your arch right on top of that ball. So rather than have your feet stay tensed and your toes all spread apart like this, all I want you to do is to let everything relax. So the ball pushing into the bottom of your foot is probably going to take your toes and curl them down and in a little bit. That's entirely normal. So what we're going to do from here is we are just going to roll straight front to back, just like that, in the arch of our foot. If you've had heel spurs, or you've had plantar fasciitis, then you want to make sure you don't go too hard on the front of your heel bone, the underside front of your heel bone, because that can be a sensitive spot for some of those things. But it doesn't mean that we shouldn't get there at all. It just means you want to go gentle. So we're just going to roll straight front to back like that. And I want you to go for maybe 20 or 30 seconds, something of that sort. And if you feel like it's a little too hard, just don't push quite so hard with your foot. And if you feel like it feels pretty good and you'd like to dig in a little more, just lean forward and put a tiny little bit more pressure in. But for most people, you want to take it easy, just kind of go with a medium amount of digging in for now. So once we've done 20 or 30 seconds, we're going to take that ball, push it to the side just a little bit so that we can put our foot back on it, and then we're going to lean away to the other side so it's getting the inside of our arch, essentially from the inside of our big toe to the inside of our heel right there. So that inside of our arch, for most people, has a little more of a tender spot in it. It's called their navicular process. It's where a lot of ligaments and tendons attach that control our ankle. So that's tender. It's entirely normal that it's tender. Just know that it's that way for almost everyone towards the inside of their arch. And some people towards the back of their big toe as well. It's going to be tender. Just know that's normal. For now, all we're trying to do is just loosen everything up. Okay, so once we've done the inside of our arch, what we're going to do is we're going to put it right underneath the ball of our feet. So if I lift my toes up here, you can see that it's not all the way under my arch. It's under the ball of my foot, which is essentially the name for the big knuckles at the base of your toes. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to put it right in the middle of the ball of our foot. And this time we're going to take our foot and we're going to windshield wipe it back and forth. So we're going to leave our heel on the ground and we're just going to windshield wipe our foot back and forth so that it rolls underneath the ball of our foot, maybe 10 or 15 times. And all we're trying to do, again, is get all of those knuckles to articulate past each other a little bit. Even though for a lot of people they can become stiff and they can act like one big bone, there are a whole bunch of different bones that are supposed to move around past each other. And once you're done that, let's switch sides. Let's go over to the other side. So we'll go a little faster through this foot just because I'm not explaining as much. So let's put that ball right in the middle of your foot and let's start by rolling it straight front to back. And you can just kind of explore the bottom of your foot a little bit, figure out where the tender spots are, figure out what muscles have a little bit of overwork built into them. For a lot of people, just straight down the middle is fine. So once we've done a little bit of that, we're going to slide that ball over to the side. We're going to lean away from it, let our knee dip in, and try to do the inside of our foot, just the arch. So for some people, this could be a little uncomfortable on their hip. And if that's the case, try to lean a little bit further or bring the ball a little further back in. Good. So once we've done the inside of our arch, we're going to come right back to the middle again. Put our heel on the floor behind the ball. Put a massage ball right underneath the ball of our foot, right underneath those big knuckles at the base of our toes. And we're just going to windshield wipe back and forth to try to get those puppies to articulate past each other. Good. All right. That is it for the bottom of our feet. We're going to use the ball a little bit again later, so keep the ball nearby, but you can throw your shoes back on because we're done with the feet for today. For our next movement, we are going to do something called surfers. And so one of the things that happens over time is we develop a very strong preference for which foot we like to balance on. And a lot of that transfers up through our entire body to the point where one knee, one hip, and especially through our core and midsection really prefers moving one way and not the other way. So what we're going to try to do with this is try to even that out a little bit. A lot of the time our brain and our nervous system are going to change how we load side to side based on what we do with our spine and our midsection. So we're simply going to do a movement that makes us shift off to one side and then shift off to the other side, but we're going to do it from a chair. And these are called surfers. So you're going to start by sitting nice and upright. You don't need to be obnoxiously extended and tall like this. Just want you to get a nice, relaxed, tall position. Let your shoulders drop for the most part. So what we're going to do is we're going to have our arms out to the side, and we're just going to reach to one way as far as we can while still trying to keep our butt on the ground. So we're going to reach like that, which will make us twist a little bit through the midsection. And then we're going to point the other way, and we're going to reach that way. So what it's going to end up looking like is that you have your pelvis here, and you have your rib cage here, and your rib cage is going to kind of slide back and forth, side to side, based on which way you're reaching and which way you're looking. So we're just going to be moving this way and moving this way, back and forth, and that's going to change a little bit about how our brain perceives our spine, and it will help with balance in the long run. Okay? So get into that position now. Get nice and tall and upright. Get your arms out to the side, and we're going to start by going off to the left. So we're just going to do about 6 repetitions of this, okay? Go to the left as far as you can while still keeping on the chair. Good. Now look to your right and point that way. You're going to shift all the way that way. And then the other way again. Let's go to the left, shift all the way to the left, and then look right. We're going to shift all the way to the right. The last one to the left. We're going to shift all the way to the left, and then look to the right one more time, and all the way to the right. And then come on back to the middle and relax. So we call these surfers because we can do them like this as well with our hands down, because all we're really trying to do is shift back and forth side to side and change how our spine and our rib cage and our spinal cord all interact to make us feel a little more balanced and centered through the middle of our body. For our next exercise, we are going to be using our massage ball again. So this time we're going to be doing it on the base of our neck. And one of the reasons that we're doing it on the base of our neck is that a lot of the muscles that are at the base of our neck, at the top of our neck, at the base of our skull, right where they interact, your head interacts with your neck, these muscles give our brain a lot of feedback about where our head is in space. So balance is fairly complex. It comes from a lot of different areas in our body. Balance is an outcome of all these things. It's not necessarily a simple thing to measure or a simple thing to produce. But one of the things that our brain does is it uses information from a whole bunch of different areas of our body to figure out where it is in space, and that's what helps to keep us upright. Our brain knowing exactly where we're at. So a lot of the time, if we get really tight muscles at the base of our neck, it can actually have our brain perceive incorrectly exactly where we're at, and so we want to make sure that we regulate the tension of those muscles really well. And we're going to do that with something simple like a ball. So all you've got to do is put this ball on the back of your head, just off to one side. So we don't want it right in the middle. We want it just off to one side, and you're just going to roll straight down until you get to the bottom of your skull, right where the top of your neck is. And then from there, you're going to take the ball like this in your palm, and you're going to press it straight forward, and then you're going to roll it a little bit side to side. So I have it here, right at the top of my neck, base of my skull. I'm going to press straight forward, and then I'm going to roll a tiny little bit side to side. And we're just going to do about 15 to 20 reps of rolling side to side in there. For a lot of people, their shoulder is going to be the main limiting factor on this. The shoulder can get tired from hanging out up here. Good, so we have 15 to 20 in there. Let's let that arm down, shake that out. we're going to do the same thing on the other side. Take the ball right onto the back of your skull, roll down a little bit until you hit where your neck is, and you want to take this ball and press it forward into the area where your neck and your skull meet, and we're going to roll side to side for 15 to 20 little rolls. Good. And we've got about 20 there, and that is it for the ball for today. The very last thing that we're going to do today, we're going to need to kick off our shoes again. And this is a really small little movement that we're going to be doing, and for most people, it's going to be relatively difficult, and that's just because it asks us to use our toes independent of each other. So what we really would love is if we can take all of our toes and use them kind of like fingers, and that some of them are wired to work together, but we want to be able to use them differently and independent of each other. For most people, the first step is being able to use your big toe at a different time in a different way than all your other toes. So almost like we just have two kind of functional units in our foot. So what we're going to do is we're going to take all of our toes, put them on the floor, and then see if we can lift just our big toe. So we're going to be pressing down into the floor like this. If you find that you can't naturally lift your big toe, one of the things you can do is actually have your knee come out like this, and have it naturally lift up as it comes. And if you find you still don't have the ability to do just one toe at a time, then what I want you to do is to press all your toes down into the ground and use your finger to lift your toe up and then try to hold there. See if you can hold that. It's easier said than done. So some people are going to be great at this automatically, other people not so much. So let's start with our right foot. I just want you to do 20 repetitions, which is going to be a lot, but you're going to start by pressing all your toes into the ground and then see if you can lift your big toe 20 times. Even if it barely goes anywhere and doesn't get off the ground, let's aim for 20 reps here. You'll find the coordination actually becomes a little more difficult the more tired you get as well. And if you don't get 20 repetitions and you only get 5 or 10, that's entirely fine. This can be pretty fatiguing for feet that haven't done it before. And I've lost count, so I'm just going to do 2 more. Good. So we've done 20 on that side. So let's try to do the same thing on the other side. Most people are going to be a little bit different side to side, and this is going to be relatively fatiguing for a lot of people's feet. So just know that you might want to give your feet a few minutes before taking off the rest of your day after this. Okay, so let's do the same sort of thing. We're going to take all of our toes, put them on the ground, and try to lift just our big toe while pressing our other toes down 20 times. Give that a try right now. There's 10, that's halfway for me. Got 2 more. Good. And there's 20. So if you found that your feet got fatigued from that, like the arches of your feet or the muscles that are in between your toes, feel free to use the ball again. The very first thing that we did, rolling the bottom of our feet, a lot of people will find it feels pretty good after we've done these toe raises, just to try to get those muscles calmed down again. And that's it. We are done for day number 1. Look forward to seeing you tomorrow for some more on day number 2.